This podcast is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Currently, you can get free delivery on all orders over £40 and 10% of all online orders by using our code of TakesThatChance10.
Jepson's there, Billy in, a goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life. Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town. Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted. Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Good evening, guys. Welcome to Andy Takes That Chance podcast directly after a real upbeat performance tonight and a great point against Birmingham. Coventry have lost. Town are flying. Fraser Campbell's got his scoring boots back on and... Okay. Oh, God. 14 games without a clean sheet. Can you... Honestly, I don't think it's a quiz question, but I can't remember who we were against, but yeah, we're here to review the game tonight. I've totally forgotten about Preston, but I've got some stuff written down because that was a great game as well, wasn't it, on Saturday? Because I thought we'd win at Preston, because we always win at Preston, don't we? Hopefully this comments page will work, and this is just going to be beautiful therapy again, because Huddersfield Town, are we above Coventry? We were anyway, aren't we? Yeah. Nothing to fear.
Yeah, they lost it, the 2-1 in end. So.
Yeah. And so, yeah, here we go. Brady, come on, mate. Look up, man. Get your chin up, mate.
Sorry, just doing.
Good point. So it feels like a defeat again, doesn't it? I mean, if we can't keep a clean sheet tonight, when can we ever keep a clean sheet? I mean, I personally were expecting a poor game. There were a lot of people, this is bad, this is crap, blah, blah, blah. What did they expect? It were 18-3-19, both teams out of form, both teams desperate for 3 points. It was always going to be crap, end of. So I will sacrifice that for a win. And Fraser Campbell gets his worldie. We only see it score worldies, don't we? We don't see it do anything else. And then we just give away a bad goal. But we'll review it all. But Poz, I feel your face sums it up to me. It feels 2 points lost. It's got to be, hasn't it?
Well, again, it's another game where we've gone in front in it and then thrown it away. Is that now 25 points this season that we've thrown away? So it's the old habits, isn't it? The slack defending. I mean, it was a shoddy goal to give away, wasn't it? Campbell sort of jump crosses, scored a great goal and then, turns into villain, doesn't he? Just stands there, doesn't really do a right lot, and then it just drops 2 or 3 yards out, and the smash it into back at net. So it was just, like you say, it was never going to be a classic. It certainly won't for neutrals, was it? It was never going to be. Two poor teams sort of slugging it out. The only thing that I will say, though, to put a bit of a positive spin on it, is that we actually seemed like we wanted to try and go for it a little bit. We didn't sort of sit back as we usually do. We had that bit more seemingly solid defensive base and then build from there. Whereas, previously under Carlos, we've kind of not bothered with defending at all, have we? And just sort of gone all out for it. So you can maybe see a little bit of a slight change in tactics. But again, it's just disappointing to see, a shoddy goal given away, and also another game really where we've not created a right lot. We've had that, like I say, it's a decent goal from Campbell, but it's kind of dropped to him, and we haven't worked that goal. It's fallen to him, and he's sort of smashed it in. So as much as we talk about defensive frailties, if you're going to concede goals, you accept that and you score them at the other end. But again, another game where we're not really creating it, so the defence is doing us no favours at the moment.
So much to analyse. Brady, would you agree pretty much with Poz?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a dull game, but I thought it was quite interesting how we approached it. We didn't really seem to want the ball as much as we normally do. We were almost like letting them have it and see what they could do with it. I was like, because normally we dominate. I mean, last time we played Birmingham, when we were doing it for preview, we had 75% possession, whereas we just seemed quite happy to let them have it sometimes. I think, it was a boring game. Like, we always knew it was going to be a difficult game to watch anyway. We just looked really flat, I thought, and we looked really nervous. I don't think I can't think of any, obviously it was straight after the game, but I can't think of any passages of play where we had some nice passes together, like some nice movement. It was all really flat, and they looked a bit nervous at times, like kicking the ball away. Good finish from Campbell for the goal. You got to give him that. Again, it's from that mistake, but then, I mean, that corner. Phil, was that? Have you seen that in National League? Like, legitimately, that was terrible.
You know what? If he could have designed a town goal conceded, it just would be that, wouldn't it? Set piece. Fraser Campbell trying to flick it on. I don't know if we were don't know what he was doing, but then Schofield kind of were pushed into the back of it. He should have dived on it, and then Phil, talk us through that goal, mate.
I've literally got so much to say. The highlight of my night has been I've just got a Victory Royale on Fortnite. Straight after the game, I put Fortnite on. I had a little crack at that. Do you know what I mean? I'm 38-year-old, and that was more interesting than watching game. There's so much that you could talk about in that game. I agree with Poz. Defensively, it was like the full-backs never pushed on. So we looked like, obviously, we wanted to be a bit more solid in defence. Vallejo kept hold of the ball well, passing forward, just what we expect from him, what really nice to see. But then going forwards, the wide players weren't as effective. They kept coming inside. The pitch was really narrow. So we weren't kind of having that freedom out wide to kind of stretch the pitch, which we normally do. 5-yard passes, which, again, just not... When we said we were letting them have the ball, we kept giving them the ball. Never mind letting them have the ball. We kept giving the ball to them. And then to top it off, I think I'm always harsh on strikers in terms of set pieces and things like that. Campbell's positioning was the issue. If I don't know how they want to set their teams up, but I was always taught you've got your man on the post and you've got the man at the front stick covering the front of the area kind of thing. And he should never go past that near stick. Okay, and if he does go past the near stick, it's because someone's making a run in front of him, and he makes sure he's that first man. If you look, he was 4 yards in front of his near stick. So he wouldn't have had to jump if he'd have stayed in the position where, for me, he should have been. That ball would have landed straight on his head and it would have gone down the pitch or whatever, out for a corner again or whatever, I'm not sure. So I think it's a bit harsh in terms of him looking like he flicked it on, but I think he was just in a bad position. So he had no chance. And then what happens from that there, because it's entering the area so low, it kind of kills everybody. And it's a free-for-all. And the next thing you know, it's a melee and keeper's been pushed towards the back of his goal. And it's a simple tapping for my man Roberts, who I said would be quite a key player for them.
Played well, lad. Phil, you had a good game.
Good prediction in the preview one.
Probably their best player. And I don't think he was under much pressure. But he stood out, didn't he? He was strong in both boxes and kind of swept any issues up he had in his own box. So yeah, just a pretty dull game, wasn't it? Well,
it's good for viewers though, mate. We've got 84 people. I think it's the highest we've ever done. And
it's funny because we're all sat here saying it were such a bad game, but listening to Oggy and Matt Glennon on the comms on iFollow, they sort of build it up to be right entertaining. And I know you might have to do that as a commentator to make it sound a bit better than what it actually was. And in some respects, first 5 minutes were a little bit end to end, and then after Stephen kind of went down and got injured, he almost took sting out of it. But yeah, just two bad sides really, wasn't it?
There's loads of comments coming through. Let's get a few read out already. John Earnshaw, 93 minutes I'll never get back. Damo Wales, when you look at the table, it's scary. We needed to pick up all three tonight. The game showed through our team that we don't have enough quality. I'm going to mention that later. Some huge games coming up next few weeks. Phil Marston, and no words for how utterly terrible we were tonight. Julie and I felt there's another bore of a game. Two post sides, and hard to find many positives. Stearman and Backer played well. Carlos is running out of ideas. Sadly, 21-22 season card, and he won. Jamie Temple, lost points against Wickham are looking worse and worse every week. Noel Whitaker, where's the identity, lads? I know we've had our injuries, but they all look like strangers out there. I want to come on to that because I know we're struggling for wins and managers and coaches got to change it about, but Dwayne Holmes out wide. It's just not working. I can't understand why he's there. And he showed what he could do against Swansea when they were played centrally. Really, really good. It's almost like having a kind of winger, but the quality is just not there. That tweet I put out on Friday, it's embarrassing. Like, innit? If you think of last season, that West Brom game, we had like Stankovic, who would be an upgrade on anything now. Kachunga would be an upgrade on anything now. You had Smith Rowe on the bench. You had Grant on the bench. And he had to bring on Scott Hyde tonight, who were awful, absolutely awful. He looked like he played for Birmingham, but he's only a young boy, innit? And he couldn't even get a game for Shrewsbury. The lack of quality has got to pick from. I keep seeing people say, the Cowleys, were they that bad, bring them back and they could do a better job. I'm sorry, but the Cowleys are absolute luxury to pick from compared to what we've got now. And it is what it is, but I think it's just hard to get an identity when you just kind of got the same players. Like Bakuna needs a break to me, although he did have a decent game tonight, but there's no kind of continuity. And Rowe did well in 20 minutes again, but I would maybe counter that with thinking, well, it's good to look, you can look good in 20 minutes, but you see what he gives us. He gave us 20 minutes of Borough, but then when he played them two, he didn't want great. But it's a bit of a mess, Poz. The identity's kind of gone a little bit. But tonight, all I thought, I don't give a shit about any identity tonight. Win the game. We had the platform and we ballsed it up, man.
Yeah, I think you're right. You can sacrifice a little bit of identity at this stage of the season, given how we, the run that we're on, and you've just got to do what you can to get points on the table. And in fairness, we've got a point, but it's two thrown away in it rather than one earned. If Birmingham had gone in front and we'd have come back and equalised, then you'd be sat here thinking, well, do you know what? We've shown a bit of fight, we've shown a little bit of character, and we've come back into the game. But the identity, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because when you've got your first 11, you can play that sort of nice football as we were early on. I still maintain that we probably took a lot of teams by shock in that first sort of period as well with how we played. No one would have seen us play like that, and very quickly teams found us out in that style. So yeah, it would be nice to continue with an identity, but you've just got to get points on board. And we've all been critical of Carlos on here about sticking at plan A and just doing plan A and just doing plan A over and over again and not having a plan B. So if he's now changed the style, you can't just start berating him for not playing like he used to do early part of the season, because you can't do it both ways, can you? You've got to do one or other.
Toffolo, Aitin, Karoma, the big losses for us.
Massive, massive loss out there.
Quality, mate. They're our quality, and they're not there. Phil,
massive loss. Those two, we talked about like partnerships, haven't we, on like the wide areas, and Toffolo and Karoma, massive loss for us. A bit of a dip in form for both Pippa and Benza for me. It's an Aiting, that the player who was finding those forward passes that we needed, to get the ball forward. Today, the balls forward were lost. Nearly every ball forward into a tight area was lost. So, like Pozzy said, you're not going to get that kind of quality. It's not working at the moment. It's not the way that. I don't think we're trying to play the way that we used to play, but I think the way that we are playing at the moment isn't effective, and I think that's because of the quality on the pitch.
So, what have you been in teams where you can't keep a clean sheet for love and money and 14 games? How do you kind of start rectifying that again? Because that's got to really hurt them tonight. 60-odd minutes, and they didn't like score it, to be fair, Birmingham, and to concede how we did that. How do you go about sorting this out? Is it a confidence thing? I kind of reading some of Stephen Chicken's stuff, and it's a good point where obviously the back three, back four, whatever it seems to be, is get lambasted for individual errors. But the way, I think everyone's got to play a part in these clean sheets, Phil, because it's so easy. They can drive through kind of our midfield. And Saturday were a bit different. Out wide, Preston were getting around the back. But how do you start trying to rebuild?
To be fair, Kosi, I'm not sure, because like my clean sheet ratio is not too bad down, to be honest. So it's a bit alien to me now. I'm only joking. I know exactly what. Not so much in terms of the kind of run we've had. I've never really been involved in that, but it's once there's a bit of doubt in the mind, you do start looking at. It's funny. I know it sounds bad, but you start looking at, like you've just mentioned, other areas of the field. So defenders will start complaining about that support from the midfield and the screening and allowing too many balls to be played through and to put the defence in danger. Then they'll start moving on to the strikers. The strikers aren't holding the ball up very well. And when you look at the bigger picture, it is right. You defend as a team. And for me, the best way for us to defend is from the front. And I don't think we seem to do that as much anymore. I don't think that kind of intensity seems to be there as much. I think we do seem to drop in a little bit more and kind of.
The problem is, Phil, the same players are playing games every week. Campbell's out.
Well, this is it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No energy, is there? No energy there.
Definitely. And you can see that, can't you? You can see there's a few tired legs out there, but it's a team effort. And to be fair, if it's clean sheets, you're still looking at your strikers, midfielders to be contributing to that defensive process. So, like Pozzy's mentioned, maybe that's something they've looked at tonight. You can argue that 1 point is a point gained. We could, because we're struggling.
Yeah.
So every point is a point.
I thought we're telling when in injury time, and Schofield's deliberately, to me, slowing the game down. No interest in getting it forward, and it was almost like maybe Carlos or someone's got a message out, or maybe he's kind of thought, bollocks to this. Well, let's take his point, because to be fair, they didn't look like winning it after. I wondered which way to go. It never really kind of went on, but then we had about 5 or 6 corners. It was incredible. They were a joke, weren't they? Every single one. Holmes or Bakun, whoever took them, they were awful, man. We really don't. We're not that good with corners. Let's try and dissect a bit of the game. Ali Dean, should he have gone, Brady? I mean, for me, that was just brutal what he did to Stearman. It was shocking, that man. He should have been off, shouldn't he?
Yeah, you've seen him given. I don't know. Definitely in the Prem, it's always a bit debatable in the Championship. I think with the Championship, it depends on the ref you get. I know the Premier League refs aren't doing well at the moment. I don't know about you guys, but I was like, I'm glad Stearman's in, because I think Keogh's not been the best, and then he gets crocked, and I'm like, oh God, is he injured?
Difficult.
Here we go. And like you say, you're right, because I think it killed momentum a bit. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, definitely. I think so. He could definitely have been off for that. He looked like really not bothered as well. I saw Dwayne Holmes was chatting to him afterwards, like, "Oh, you clocked him in the draw," and he was kind of like, "I don't care."
Kind of going back.
It'd been interesting if that had been on 38 minutes, for example.
Yeah.
Quite early on, wanted for the ref to send someone off after 3 or 4 minutes. It's a big call, isn't it? Would have been interesting to see if that happens, mid first half.
Also,
or even, does he walk? He caught him, obviously, didn't he?
I'd have been fuming. If that were a Town player that had got carded for that, I'd have been fuming, because Lads just jumped and he's got his arm across him. I don't think there's anything in it. I just think he's gone in hard. And you can probably tell by Stearman's reaction, because he just got up and he went off again, wasn't he? So
their bench, they had like Scott Hogan, Adam Clayton, Gary Gardner. We've got Scott I, Sanogo can give us 10 minutes, and God, it's a bit embarrassing.
I thought we'd put Nabisar up for a minute when I saw Sanogo. I didn't see him come on. I've gone to get a drink, and then Nabisar's got up front, and then I realised he had different coloured boots on.
We'll discuss Sanogo's sign. Obviously, we touched on it last week and that as well. But I've written pretty limited stuff down for the first half, because it was really, really bad, wasn't it? I went to a fish shop at half time, which I enjoyed. That was the highlight of my first half, getting out of it and getting a nice fish. But I've just got down here, and I've underlined it a few times. I must be getting mad. Holmes out wide. There's no effect on the game.
No, I completely agree, mate. I mean, like you said, the best performance Holmes has had since he's joined was Swansea, and that's when he played in the middle. I think, I don't know if I'm going to come on to this, but to me, in general, I don't think Carlos trusts his options, because, we're playing. I was chatting to my friend James about this, who was on the preview with me and Phil, and it's like, he made the point as well, it's like square pegs in round holes. Like, we're playing Pippa as like a left wing back / left midfielder when Jane Brown's fit, when Sorba Thomas is there. I know you could argue maybe they're not of the quality Aaron Rowe, and he just doesn't seem to trust to bring new players in. We didn't really change much apart from swapping Stearman for Keogh, and I think that's it. And then why are we surprised? Pippa didn't particularly have a good game. I don't think. Holmes isn't having a good game. Why are we playing these? Why are we playing our better players in the wrong positions? If we're in a terrible run and we need to do well, let's get them in the positions, and we can fill gaps. I know. We could give, playing Benza as a winger, we could give Sorba Thomas a go, could put Rowe there. Let's try that, and get the better players like Holmes, who can, is a Championship player and can do stuff occasionally, make them feel confident in positions they want to play. I mean, he left Derby because he wanted to be a midfielder.
Also, what's wrong with Benza? The one I really didn't like it tonight when he went off. Then Aaron Rowe, he didn't even acknowledge him. He didn't even check his hand. Nothing. That were bollocks for that, mate. It's from a kind of senior is pro and that as well. Ridiculous though. I don't give a shit unless you're obviously having to walk around the pitch like Campbell when he got subbed off. I'm sorry, but that rubbish. He proper spat his dummy out, didn't he? And it showed him kind of walking the bench. He didn't know probably he had a go, but mate, he's not. He don't really offer much at the moment, mate, does he?
No, it's a little bit out of sorts. I mean, coming off like that, is it a little bit disappointment in yourself? You know, you've not played as well as what you potentially can, so you're just a little bit, you know, pissed off with yourself, I suppose. But it don't take much to hold your hand out, does it? And a little fist bump to a fella going on. But I just to sort of recover what Brady just said, I agree with that. If we're lacking quality, you know, play quality players in their own position at the very least, because, you know, by moving Pippa to left wing, 3-4-3 on it tonight, or, you know, put him on left wing, well, he's better at right fullback, right wing back. So play him there, you know, and have an 100%er in that position rather than moving him across and having him 50% and then filling his gap with someone else who's not as good. That it don't make sense to me. That play, write your team sheet out. You know, you've got 1 to 11 your spaces. Fill the spaces that you can with the best players you've got available for those positions, and then, like you say, right, well, we're struggling for a left-sided wing-back here. Who have we got? Well, we've got Jaden Brown, could probably do a job. We've got Aaron Rose, Brady says. They're not be up to Pippa's standards, but Pippa's not up to Pippa's standards playing on left. He's better on right. Move Holmes into that central role. I've said before, I think he needs to be that number 10, you know, just drop into that space between midfield and defence and look to pick it up on half turn and make something happen. And, you know, by being shoved out wide, well, he's not really out wide, is he? Because if it's 3-4-3, he's not playing as a winger, and he's sort of playing in that channel in between, you know, the centre half and the fullback. But he didn't seem to be anywhere tonight. And same on the other side with Benza. That sort of 3-4-3 just didn't really work for me. I thought Vallejo had a decent game. I quite like him. There were a bit of debate on Twitter about him versus Hogg, who's better in that sort of role. And for me, the different sorts of players anyway. Hogg's more of you know, smash and tackle, whereas Vallejo is get him up ball and let him sort of start off the attacks almost. I quite like 3 at back. I think 3 at back works. It works well against Swansea with 3-5-2. I think that should be his formation moving forwards. You know, you can pick your 3. You know, we've probably got 4 now. Sarr, Edmonds Green, Keogh, Stearman, Elphick's back in. So you've got sort of 5 players that could play across that 3. And then you've got Pippa to play as your right full back. You look at maybe Jaden Brown as your left, obviously Toffolo when he comes back in. That's not a bad, you know, back 5 that can almost become an attacking wings as well. Interesting to see Schofield coming in for a bit of stick as well. That I know we discussed that about changing keeper. Phil obviously being a keeper. You saw tonight, to me, he still looks a bit low on confidence and shaky. There were one where he sort of came out with his feet. You know, ball's gone up in air and he sort of come out with his feet rather than, you know, trying to catch it and command. And is that something that's led to goal? Maybe a little bit of lack of communication from him. And I don't know, at the moment, it just seems like it's a tough one with a keeper, because from dropping a keeper, does that diminish the confidence more than giving him another chance to sort of build on his performances? I don't know. It must be really difficult as a keeper and also difficult to manage. How do you see it as a...
Sometimes when you drop as a keeper, obviously it's directly meaning that the team are struggling, and you're the main reason why the team's struggling. If you dropped as a winger, or as a centre midfielder, it's not that case. So yeah, I think mentally sometimes keepers can struggle, but you've got to look at it in the same way, really. Your performance have got to be good enough. And if your performance ain't good enough, you don't want it to be on the pitch. As simple as that. So I think the one in the air there, it took a bit of a funny deflection. Lads just fouled him. The striker's just gone straight into him. And he's literally just swung his foot, which looked a bit messy, really. But it's on second viewing of it, you were majorly impeded. So, I agree with what you all said there. What's that, sorry?
I don't think he would give it foul, though, on that. But
no, he won't. No.
I've got a positive here, guys. Talk about digging deep. Craig Rotherham, what a legend. Positives. Last time we messed up a must-win game against relegation rival, the next home game we spanked a decent Welsh opposition. Loving that. Tom Asquith, no words for this game. Has Corberan done the interview from the game yet? Scott Ives coming in for a bit of stick. The waste of a sub. Weekends an already lacklustre midfield. Mick Henry, garbage keeper behind a makeshift nervy pair. Centre-backs behind a midfield with no clue. Wideman did okay. Campbell doesn't stop grafting. They're pissing him out of the back is infuriating. No, no teams look like they wanted to win because they don't have a clue how to lol. It's pretty much summed up because they were bad as well, weren't they?
It was funny, wasn't it? It was like a stick or twist kind of game for me. I mean, you've talked today about formations. I still have no idea what kind of. For me, it looked like a 4-3-3 from us today. But in terms of the tactics, for me, what would you have done if you were the gaffer tonight? Because I know I'd have been trying to win that game. So I'd have been throwing my fullbacks forward or whatever they would play and pushing them forward down the pitch to try and create more chances. Tonight, like that lad just mentioned there, it looked like not one team wanted to win. It was literally just the kind of...
Once they equalised, because it seemed to me then we were... I mean, to be fair, in the last 10 minutes we had a few corners, but didn't really kind of threaten apart from that Bakuna ball in. But I'd have stuck
another man up front because I predicted 2-1, so... It were on. Do you know what I mean? I needed another goal from somewhere, so there were no point me sitting back because I ain't got my prediction right. I mean, where were Phillips tonight?
That was like watching a boxing match, but neither boxer had arms.
I just saw that because that made my night. I can't remember his name because my phone's gone dead, so I can't see it. But I just saw that. That just describes it fully. That's brilliant, is that?
I agree with the Phil. Like, to me, I don't know what you lads thought, but we were like booting it forward to Campbell, and it's like you've got Phillips who's quite tall. You've got Snow who's like 6'3". Like, why aren't we doing that with them? Like,
I want to come back to what you mentioned there. Phillips was stripped off, and someone's mentioned here, Karloff bottled it, going too top. Phillips stripped off, and his ass fell out when he realised Hogan was coming on. That was a weird one with that, wasn't it? Because it was on. I mean, Oggy mentioned it on the commentary, but it was almost like, shit, kind of. I don't know if it was a tactical thing at the time. It was such a weird incident with that. Why not bring him on? I don't get it.
For me, the kids look sharp when he's come on. He looks tidy in and around the box. His feet are good. He holds the ball up really well. It's nice to see a young lad who's obviously pushing to start, but he's physically strong. You can see he's well balanced. He looks a decent player for me, and I have no idea why he's not getting these chances. I really don't.
It's like what you said.
If you go for it too much at 1-1, sorry, because if you go for it too much at 1-1 and lose 2-1, you get slated then, don't you? It's all right, people going. Do you know what I mean? No, you get fans. I've said it myself. Do you know what? I'd rather lose 2-1 and go for it than not. But actually, on this run, is that 1 point better than going for it and losing?
This is why they're getting paid the big bucks.
Yeah.
In scheme of things, that 1 point at the end of the season might end up keeping you up. Do you know?
Is this the back to the trust in the youngsters, Poz? Because you meant Torber Thomas has been mentioned here again. I can't understand. What did he have? 5 minutes, one of the games off the bench. Not interested. Like Rowe back on for maybe 20. Didn't fancy Phillips. Bakuna seems undroppable. There's certain players that just don't seem to be. I mean, to be fair, Edmonds Green at least come back in and looked. I thought he was all right. Although on Saturday, that I think that early booking and obviously got kind of binned at half time, didn't it? But it's like, I don't know. It just feels I can just kind of imagine like a camera in like a town backroom. It's like Carlos with so and so's great, Scott I, Thomas, come on, get him in, and it's like guys is like. You don't feel it. Or is it just... I mean, some of these people say it's not a time to throw them in, but it's such a mixed picture, really, because a lot of these guys are not getting any kind of game time at all. We're just seeing 10 minutes, 20 minutes, no starts, and it's the same tried and trusted people who are letting us down that are keeping the shirt.
I love that. I love that shout. It's not the right time to put them in. When do you put them in then? When we're winning? Is that the only time you like? Is that the only time you like to play someone? Or when we're kind of like mid-table and there's nothing. It don't work like that, does it? Because it's got to be a certain point. So what do you wait for we're a mid-table team. We're not going anywhere. Well, you don't find out until towards the end of the season. So have you got to wait till the end of the season? What happens if that never comes? Because we've had seasons where we've been at the bottom all the time. So we're never. So what we're really saying is we're never going to put young kids into the team because we're always going to. Because we're not allowed to spend much money on wages. We're always going to be bottom of the championship kind of team, aren't we now? So we're not going to see any young players. We're not going to see any young players anymore now because we can't blood them into the right time. You've got to put them in.
When you think of that, I'll come back to it again. I mentioned it earlier, but that Brent's against West Brom, it's just unbelievable. Stankovic, Smith Rowe, Carman, Kachunga. Mate, look who we've got. Poz, it's sad. It's proper embarrassing, isn't it, really, how the quality is just absolutely. I know we've got injuries, and I'm sure if the powers that be were on this podcast, they'd be like, yeah, but Toffolo back in, and we get, Koroma back in and what have you. But even with him falling, it's still not the greatest. Each year, the quality's just got worse and worse. And I feel sorry a bit for Carlos, because he's just like, you're looking for game changers, game winners in that Birmingham equalised, and he's looking there, he's got Scott High and Aaron Rowe. It's embarrassing, mate.
It is. We've said it on here before, haven't we? The old saying, I won't say it again. But you can only work with what you've got, can't you? And yeah, you're quite right. These youngsters, I just counter what Phil says about putting youngsters in. Obviously, you've been in that sort of situation, Phil, where we had to sort of throw youngsters in, when we had Jacko and stuff like that. But I think for me, if I were a young player coming through to go play in that sort of environment where everybody's down on confidence, doesn't seem to be much cohesion anyway. I think from a developmental point of view, it's not going to do them that much good. You're almost hanging them out to dry, because if they were good enough, they'd just be starting. You wouldn't need to sort of bed them in as such. So I think putting a youngster into a winning team gives them a little bit more freedom to maybe make the odd mistake, because it doesn't matter as much. If you get to back end of the season and you are comfortably mid-table again, there's not as much pressure on. Whereas someone like Scott High has come on, and I've never seen him play apart from first team football, but he might be a really sort of tidy footballer. He might be actually pretty decent, but he will now instantly be associated for me with not being good enough straight away, because he's not come on and done the right lot. So I think fans can make a perception of a player and form an impression of him that's probably don't do that player justice. If that does that make sense,
Yeah,
I do get what you're saying. If they are good enough, they should be able to come on and make that impact. So is it just that they're not good enough? Then
we all did that over Koroma though, didn't we? So we all thought Koroma were bang average. He came on and never did out, and then this year he's his main player. That year that I first started playing my debut season, it was me, Steady, and Worthy that all started playing, and we went down, and it was pretty bad. Mel Machin, Mick Wadsworth, etc. Mick Wadsworth for a legend. And we went down
for all the wrong reasons,
right? But I thought that for me, I was a goalkeeper. I was letting goals in, and we went down from it. But it was the best experience for me. I loved it, playing for my own town club, and absolutely loved it. Season after, we went up. So these, and most of those kids were playing in that season that we went down. For me now, these kids they're kind of unscathed. They've not had any kind of experience of being in a bad position. They can come in and actually lift the team. Sorba Thomas has come to Huddersfield. He's flying.
I know,
the kid's
mate.
Flying. And then counteract it. He comes to Huddersfield. He ain't playing.
I know.
So we're kind of we're stunting his. We're struggling for wingers. Stick him in. Aaron Rowe for me. Recently he's been really exciting. He looks full of confidence. No, he gets the ball. His first thought is, right, can I get past my fullback? And then next thing you know, for me, he's not playing. And we've got a centre midfielder in Dwayne Holmes on the wing instead of in the pocket, like you've mentioned. I don't get the fact that these young kids, if they, and we're not saying they're good enough to play, but at the moment they seem full of confidence. You look at Lewis O'Brien, you can see on his face. You can see on his face he's struggling. Yeah. There's obviously your other players, your centre backs and a couple more midfielders. Bakun, you can see they're feeling it a little bit. Even Campbell. These young kids, when they come on, they're buzzing. They're absolutely buzzing. They're flying around because they're happy to be playing. Because, like I said before, if they make it, if they do all right, they can be signing contracts on back of this. And I know they shouldn't be thinking that way, but you've got to think personally as well. It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Brady, do you think that if you remember at the start of the season, I remember a couple of managers commenting, says, when you play the season, you don't know where players are going to be, and players are popping up all the place. We saw Pippa kind of playing winger at times and what have you. But do you think maybe, I don't know, Carl, it's kind of gone to his head, and he's tinkering with too much, because the Pippa experiment, all of a sudden his confidence is like you've lost a good player there all of a sudden now. Obviously Toffolo's not missing, but it's Dwayne Holmes. He just seems to get a guy to me just really trying to just try anything to get a change, but just go back to surely what it were working before, maybe.
I think, I can't remember being quite negative on this, but I agree. I think Sober Thomas should get a start, but the lad was in National League, like playing part time, like, and I think that just tells you the state of it. Like, we're like, give him a chance, why not? And I'm all for it. And who knows, he might do something good. But that just kind of says everything. Again, it goes back to square, playing players out of position because he clearly doesn't think they're good enough or they're not good enough. I know we don't see him in training, so we don't know what I'm like, but it's just a really poor squad. I think there's been a lot of flack on Carlos recently, and whether you think I've seen there's a couple like Carlos out, he's tinkering, but I don't know any manager who could come in and do potentially a better job. They might do some firefighting, but this squad, like I know we keep going on about it, but that West Brom thing, like Cowley had a much better squad and he barely kept us up. I know there's circumstances around that, but like I think it's amazing, to be honest, that we the first half of the season how well we did, because you look at this squad now. Yes, there's been injuries, but it's just no depth whatsoever. I think we've said it before, but for me, Phillips does look sharp. He does look good. I think he should get a chance, but I think if this was another season and we were safe, he'd probably be better going in the League One team, which might be us, where he can start. He can start every game, because I agree with Phil. Like, either chuck him in, or if we're not going to play him and they're just warming the bench, like I'd rather them do what they did with Edmonds Green, where it's like he goes on loan to Swindon, he does well, and he can come back and being used to playing proper football week in, week out, and can force himself in. But yeah, it's just a really poor squad to choose from. So I think Carlos has got it really tough at the moment.
It's a good point. I mean, Sober Thomas was meant to be loaned out. Someone's put in. I can't remember what it was, but it's just such a mess.
The thing is, though, this is something that we all predicted. Leading up to January, during January, how many times every single week we must have said on this bloody podcast from November onwards, the squad's not big enough. It's not good enough. There must have been some sort of conversation between chairman and manager during all that period where either, as a manager, if you know your squad's not good enough, you're banging on chairman's door saying, look, well, this isn't enough. We're going to go down. We need some players. If you're a proactive chairman, you go into your manager and saying, look, I know we've got a few injuries. What do you reckon? Have we got enough?
We've got them in. Keogh, Aarons,
Yeah, it's only two, though, isn't it? And that don't feel like that don't feel enough quality for me. There's areas all over the pitch that are not. I know what you're saying. We brought a couple in, didn't we? And you could argue Thomas and Danny Grant. Is it? They were sort of ones for the future, weren't they? But to me, who's made this decision that the squad is good enough to see us through? Is it Carlos? Is it Phil? Is it a little bit of both? Because what Phil's like, he's come out and praised these youth players. The 5 strikers thing, which were just a load of rubbish because, we haven't got them, have we? But if that's how he sees the youth as the future and that they're good enough, comes back to what you're saying, why aren't we playing them? If they're either good enough or they're not, and if they're not good enough, we should have bought some players. And if they are good enough, they should be playing. So what is it? It can't be both, can it? What's the reluctance to chuck them in? Is it circumstantial, like I've sort of touched on, that Carlos doesn't see it as the right time?
I think it is.
It's weird, isn't it? It's just strange. Yeah. You're fixing a broken leg with a bloody bit of plaster, aren't you? It's not.
The fact,
weird.
Our comments feed's going wild. People arguing with each other and commenting and stuff. I think it's so frustrating because it's like, for me, the club are so lucky that the fans aren't in, because there'd be absolute anarchy at the moment. I mean, the Cardiff game, that'd be one on Sky. I think there'd be a few protests coming. Not as if it wouldn't have been before, but it's just that queue, that quality is just lacking in. It's just like, to me, Carlos thinks these guys can't change the game, so I'm just going to stick with what I've got and kind of hope. But the guys we brought in, I mean, I was embarrassed though when I see that Sonogo, some of them comments. So he hadn't played full football for 1 year. He hadn't had a team for a year. And Carlos were kind of hinting that we might be able to keep, getting 10, 15 minutes every other week. But it's like, it's woeful, isn't it? I mean, you need players with 13 games to go, 14 games to go, make an impact. And
it's a joke. Yeah. It's an absolute joke, because that we've signed that sort of player.
Yeah. Until every season and all, Poz.
It just adds insult to injury as well when, like, you
injured. No,
no, but like you see us scrambling around on deadline day. We're not paying $500,000 for that League Two striker from also, and he's played 3 games. He's got man of the match, and he's got 2 goals and assists. Like it's just all bad at the moment. Like it's just
he wasn't ready though, Brady. He wasn't ready. we bought a man who hadn't had a club for years. He's more ready.
40 games, lads, without a clean sheet. That kind of stuff just gets you down, doesn't it? 52 goals now it is conceded, and I just think tonight, if we can't win that 1-0 against a bad Birmingham team, when are we going to win? But there's someone put there, it's like with Town Logic. Cardiff, Mick McCarthy, they're absolutely flying. It'll all be about Big Mick on Friday. They'll be hanging out with his backside, mate. Big McCarthy, this and that. They're going to go top 6 and then this and that. And that's just all I'm thinking, because it's just hope now and it's pouring it. And the only thing is, maybe, I don't know how far Og's away. I know Karoma thinks mid-April, so I think you can forget about him having any impact, to be honest with you. You're looking at Aarons who, they ain't got enough games to kind of know what he's going to do. It's Huddersfield without Jonathan Ogg, he's just not the same team. I mean, just touching a bit on Saturday's game, obviously it's been and gone, but same old story. We started brightly, we created chances. I thought we should have had a penalty, although Campbell went down easy, but to me it was a penalty. Then O'Brien, that for me, but it would have been the same old story, wasn't it? Once they get the goal, I thought second half they were very comfortable with Preston, and their quality though. Scott Sinclair, mate, top player. Ched Evans, obviously kind of historic ties with Town with the promotion season, what have you, but miles better than all we had on the pitch. Quality. It's how can you expect Carlos to kind of get results with what we've got? It's so sad, isn't it? Because the Premier League legacy, I know we've done it all to death, but we should be in so much a better position than this. Some random person DM'd me today from a newspaper. I'm going to say who it is, but it says, because of what's going on with Town, it says, mate, it says, just year by year, no, quality signings, kind of the money is not there. It's just, he just said it's all in one way, innit? I'm like, you can't argue. Everyone's just kind of seen it from outside. And then we're going to talk about it now, but last Friday, the most bizarre thing the club put out, I don't get what they were doing, but so this season card, what were it called? 21-22 on its get back in the ground kind of thing. And what did it say? It basically said, we're going on the season card prices, which we've, kind of knew anyway, because Phil said, and we haven't made a decision on the, kind of the new season card. So what were the point of putting that out at a time when the club and the fans are like that? And Poz, I don't know what you think, but there's a lot of, I played our season card this year for these brilliant iFollow broadcasts, but it's like, I don't think, people ain't going to pay. They're pinning all the ups that people want to come back in, don't they? Because watching that, the way the club's heading, the disillusionment at the moment, they're going to put prices up for people that haven't got a season card. It's estimate, isn't it?
For me, they've announced it ridiculously too early. Just because we don't really know what division we're going to be in. So they can't really look at that. And B, also just because we've been told 21st of June, everything goes back to normal. Will it be the case that everything goes back to normal, or will it still be restrictions and stuff? So yeah, they've made the announcement, but it's a little bit too early, and there's not much foresight gone into it. I think the original deal 249, and you got next 3 seasons at that sort of price. You can't knock that. That's reasonable enough for me. But that were sold on the proviso that we thought we might be back in October, and then back in January, and then obviously we've not gone back in. So there'll be a lot of fans out there that play £249 basically for the iFollow subscription. They've had the prices froze, but they knew that anyway. Now you're looking at fans who didn't have one this season. Now they know they're going to be paying more than $249 because they're going to have to. Because if not, it's going to devalue that offer, by the club for the loyalty of having a season ticket. So if you go down to League One, and even if you don't after this season, you're probably going to struggle to sell season tickets anyway. So by putting a price up, how much do you put it up to? $299, would you say, to give existing season ticket holders a decent reward? 50 quid, you could argue.
£2.99 after tonight, Poz.
You've got to look through it. You've got to think about these things. You've got to be savvy with it. You've got to take a little bit more time to there were no need to rush out and put this information out. I've looked at, a couple of other clubs, what they're doing. And if you've had a season ticket this year at Swansea, you get it for 99 quid rather than 300, I think it is. Oldham have refunded the difference between the season ticket and how much it would have cost you to buy a home game. So they've given some back to the fans. Another club, I can't remember which one it is, but again, their season ticket holders are getting them a lot cheaper than ones who aren't. A couple of clubs have said if you had one the season previous, so not this season, the season before, you still get a reduction because we understand it was difficult. And
what about money and stuff? We don't seem to have done that. Shirt, Poz, free of charge. That'd do, wouldn't it?
Well, there was a toilet roll shortage, wasn't there? So they might come in handy for some folk.
It just would
I didn't have a season ticket this year because I didn't think we'd get into the ground, and I wasn't prepared to pay that sort of money because we two kids and stuff like that. So say again, Brady.
Call yourself a fan?
I know. Well, it was one of them. Because I've got 2 kids and that, I wasn't paying out like quid just to get an iFollow sort of thing.
It was just bizarre. It was total pointless. What were they trying to tell us? We're back in the ground. We knew that because Boris said whatever. We're not going back next season. What were the point of sending that out?
That's it. Just careless and rushed and no real foresight. They could have made that a really good thing because it's a bit of a time where fans are sort of pick up against the club a little bit. And that could have been a really good way to get fans back on board in preparation for next season. All it seems to have done is really annoy people. There's people on Twitter saying that they managed to carry their 249 over to next season. So effectively, they paid the money. Instead of getting a refund and taking it back, they just leave it with the club and it effectively pays for next season. Yet they've still had the benefit of the iFollow and everything this year. So, apparently. So, it was never really publicised. I know a couple of season ticket holders that have never heard of. I said, you must have had an email about it. I said, no. So you've got 2 sets of fans where some will have paid, 249 quid for this season, and some have paid no and getting almost like a free one. But again, that's something that hasn't been publicised. So again, is it miscommunication? And what's going on there? It just seems another little thing that club have put out, that tends to follow the trend of the recent activity from the club, that it's a shambles, really. Not ill thought out, bad timing, bad information.
It's gutting, isn't it? Everything's just downbeat, but you've got to call it as you see it. And I read that communication. When you scroll down thinking, okay, yeah, we're back in, and yeah, we're on it. I just thought, what are you trying to tell us here? There was nothing.
It just felt like they had to. Going about value for money, I was only joking there, Poz, but I've got a friend in Amsterdam who I watch the games with. He pays 140 quid and gets all the away games. So he's actually got. They did say you don't get the away games because of the AFL rules or whatever, but I'm just there this guy's paid 110 quid less than me and he can watch all the games. It's just with that it was just one of them where the government has announced something like scramble to do something. Not every club's done it, you're right. You see other things like Borough, I think they're giving it away for free, but their season ticket's 600 quid. I said it last week, and I think it'll be really interesting to see with season tickets, because I will probably renew, but I want to see investment in the team. I don't want 250 quid to watch games like this. The club really need to do something and invest on the pitch, because we were promised this attacking football, and I know this doesn't, this isn't the same in football, but if we were promised entertainment, not really being entertained, are we? So I think there's a lot on for a lot of people. They're going to wait and see, given all the announcements with COVID and everything and all these dates. Who knows, stuff's going to change, but I think people are going to wait to see, well, are they going to invest in the team and make this better? Because why would I pay 250 quid to come watch us, concede one of the worst goals of the season to Birmingham? You just wouldn't.
It's gutting, isn't it? Up until New Year's Eve, Barnsley were a bit of an eye opener, but they're on fire at the moment. So I suppose for that Blackburn game, and then obviously 2021, because Carlos we were up at 10th place, 11th place, and what have you, but it's going downhill so much fast. It's kind of moving back to the main subject, but it's very hard to make a case out for Carlos, apart from only to say the crap hand of cards that he's got. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of his, but I'm just puzzled at the moment. And tonight, I was willing to accept an horrible performance and a win, which kind of looked for a couple of minutes we might get it, but it's. I'm just trying to fast forward it. Positive. We stop up because Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday are awful and scramble up with 44 points or whatever. But what can we expect next season? I don't know, looking ahead, but for me, it just feels going to be more of the same. I'm sorry to be so downbeat, but the optimism that we had, with kind of just, I don't know.
It's funny you say that, because just before we came on air after the match, I sort of put a bit of a tweet out saying, would it be better to go down now rather than stay up by the skin of his teeth and then literally just same again? Same again next season. We're down at the bottom, it's a slog, and the way that the club are trying to run it at the moment, all the sort of the noise coming out of it is we want to look to bring the youth in. Phil's talked about his wage budget going to be lower. Is there going to be massive recruitment on decent players in summer? I'd take the view that no, we'll bring in, cheaper players or younger players. Are we going to go into next season in Championship with a big enough, 25-man squad where everyone's of the Championship quality? I just can't see it. And if we are looking to sort of reset, would it be easier to do that in League One? I know it's a terrible league and it can be a bastard to get out of, but would it give these youngsters a chance to get a bit more game time and get them on pitch a little bit more and stuff like that? I know financially it'd be terrible for the club, so that'd make financial situation even worse. But if we stay up, I have absolutely no doubt that next year we will be sat here again talking about how we're going to stay up, because I just can't see us investing enough money. And it is about investing money. People say you don't need to spend money, and you don't need to spend tens of millions like I think the club think fans want. You've just got to be more shrewd. But we need to sign at least 10, 15 players over the summer. And can you see all them players being of a decent quality to play week in, week out? Or potentially play week in, week out? Because I can't.
Phil,
and I think we'll just be delaying the inevitable for me.
Phil, give us some optimism, mate. Come on.
I think I'd rather. I'm a big believer trying to stay as high as you can all the time. I know we went into Premier League and a couple of fans are like, "Oh yeah, I'd rather be back down in." No, I wouldn't. I'd rather be in Premier League, to be honest. And I think even for the kids, I think it's no matter what league you're playing in, it's still a difficult league to. There's still difficult leagues to play, and you've got to.
Look at Ipswich and Sunderland, Phil. Ipswich and Sunderland struggling in League One.
Yeah, it's really difficult. From when I first started playing and supporting Town, and you see that we went down the leagues and then coming back up, and you still think it's still hard to get out of these leagues. So I can't call it. I really can't call it. I think Poz is exactly right. You've got to spend some money. And it's not even the money that I don't know what people think we expect, but it's not the tens of millions or even fives of millions. It's can you find that little bargain of maybe a £2 million or a £3 million somewhere who's got bags of potential. Jamie Vardy, I always crack on about him, but I played with him, but £1 million Fleetwood. Do you know what I mean? Or what, 100 grand or something? I can't remember what it was, and then £1 million Leicester, whatever it was. Yeah. Come on, there's players out there. There's so many players out there, but that recruitment's got to be spot on. And I think obviously with the pandemic and stuff and the way that things are going, prices will come down with players. But I can't see us wanting to spend money. I really can't. Pozzy's right. Pozzy, I didn't get a season ticket this year. I get my own season tickets. I know ex-players can get free tickets at times, which is great. But I buy mine with my little lad and my dad and my brother and his little lad. And I didn't get one this year because there was zero kind of information from the club and willingness to improve the squad. And that really annoyed me at the start of the season. So I didn't get one. And I will do next season, hopefully, if they show that intent. But I just think I think it's so up in the air. But for me, first and foremost, the first barrier is this season. And can we stay up? And again, it's looking close. Looking at the teams below, Rotherham are struggling out there. They've
game tomorrow, Phil, innit? Rotherham, Sheffield, it's huge. Hopefully, they are.
So I'm hoping they're going to keep struggling a bit. And I always have a laugh. One of our teachers who was in a group with is a big Wednesday fan. They're doing them soon and all.
Do you think Darren Moore maybe might get a tune? And because part of me thought with that appointment yesterday, are they kind of maybe preparing for League One? But Chance said it for what he means anyway. But he was saying no. We think
what a strange move that is. Going from a club where he's got stability in Doncaster. I know it's a lower division, but loads of stability, and the performances are good. And then next thing you know, he's going to a club that's sacked X amount of managers. I can't get my head around football sometimes. The people within football at times are absolutely deluded.
6 points from last 36, though. It's a joke, isn't it, really? And free fall. And if you think Friday night, this is town logic, though. We'll win on Friday, but Cardiff are absolutely rolling like a train, aren't they? And they'll come and think, no, I don't know. I just, honestly.
Can you imagine being sat in the ground at the moment and watching the games in terms of like this current run of form? You know, we've been playing well, haven't we? And then we've slowly got a little bit worse. And I'm definitely glad we're not in grounds, because fans do infuriate me when they're talking and so negative. But you can't not be negative, can you?
I think it might do some good, though, mate. And I know you wouldn't think at the moment, but the noise, the backing, maybe you get players risking stuff that we're not seeing now. We're seeing a lot of stuff going back and sideways and that as well. And we've got such a quick turnaround as well Friday night. But I just. The only thing is, I don't see us getting to 50 points, but you might not need that this time, because rather than Sheffield, Coventry seem to be just as bad. But we never should have been like this. Christ, at Christmas time, I was dreaming maybe of a flirt with a top 6, even though my heart, I knew we weren't ready. But I think what's more depressing, even if we stay up or whatever, it's just the shape the club's in and kind of moving forward. I cannot wait to get back in that South Stand and a few beers into town, etc. But that's the only reason. It shouldn't be like that. Carlos' stuff were like early on, I was like, this is great, but at the moment we're just Brady. I don't know what you think, but honestly, I just it's so sad about it, man.
It's just I think me and you, Kosi, are normally quite upbeat, but I feel quite downbeat about it. And Phil's right. It's like not just the investment in terms of, are we going to see that investment? I don't think we are. Players are out of contract, like Mbenza's out of contract, like Bakuna's out of contract. Nothing, not heard anything about that. And I suppose they can use the excuse.
A couple of people were saying tonight, that Mbenza were playing as though he were told he was not going to extend his deal because we had an extra year if we wanted it. But I mean, I don't know. It's only a kind of body language.
Well, I think
you never know.
I agree. Like, I don't know.
It feels weird, doesn't it?
The club have, again, it's like with this decision to appoint Paul Rand, the club have put a lot of pressure on themselves, because they said we wanted this attacking style of play. Same with this summer. They're like, oh, well, a lot of the big earners are going to go, and, that we can address it. So
Pritchard, who's the...
Pritchard, I don't know, like Mbenza,
Bakuna. Oh, sorry, Bakuna, yeah, maybe a few.
We'll see. I mean, the only thing is, they can use COVID as an excuse, and maybe we don't know how bad the finances are at town. I'm sure we'll find out before the end of the season, but for me, it's a bit of a biased market as well. Like, we got Holmes on the cheap. Barnsley needed 2 strikers. They got some loans in. And we didn't even really look at loans for me, which is a bit of an odd one. I know you can say, well, what about our young players? But Luton have got Kieran Dewsbury Hall, who was a great player on loan. Barnsley have got a good striker in, on loan. We just didn't really seem to be doing that. We're going for free agents who haven't played for a year. This summer's huge in terms of recruitment, absolutely massive, and they can't really use the excuse of the big earners anymore. Will we see more value in the summer? Perhaps, yeah. But I've got to be honest, given how everything's going at the moment, I'm not confident we are going to, I agree with the lads, I'm not confident we're going to get better players in. If Wickham or Rotherham, if they go down and we stay up, could we even have a look at some of their players? I agree with Poz. I think he said it before.
Hakim Fenwa, get him in. Get the
No, but I mean, I agree with Poz. We've talked so much about how we've seen nothing from the Premier League. Really, there's loads of reasons for that, but why can't we poach some good players from teams who've been down? I mean, I was saying this the other day about Wigan, awful what happened with Wigan, but they were having a fire sale. Kiefer Moore and Jamal Lowe went for 2 million combined. We're not even in, of course, they'd probably want to go to Swansea and Cardiff, but we're not even in those conversations. We weren't linked with anyone. There was so many good players from Wigan, like Sammy Morsey, a bit like Hogg, and we just didn't even bother. And I think that's worrying. I just don't trust this recruitment team at all.
I agree. Hey, I've seen some earlier. Sorry, guys. Just you reminded me, because have you seen there were a bit of a statement about the South Stand, weren't they? I think talking about closing it for next season.
Wow, I didn't.
No, I can. I'll. If anybody's listening, I'll.
Poz is straight out of his chair.
Well,
no,
don't give me that, mate.
Stand alone.
We tell me vaccine
just on that. Genuinely, we have spoke to a club about that, and it's just not true. So anybody who's getting excited, thinking it's shutting it.
Sorry, guys, I just had to do it. I saw it on Twitter, and everyone was like, "No, leave our staff stand alone."
I think that'll be a final nail in coffin for most people. But
yeah.
Just coming back to what Brady said, like a lot of football clubs, you say it's a big summer. This is potentially the biggest summer, not for Huddersfield Town, but for Phil, because the pressure and the people that are turning against him seems to be almost growing by the day from what you see on social media and stuff like that. He has got a big chance in summer now to make a statement of intent, and he can turn a lot of people's opinion around, because COVID hopefully will be gone. By then, touch wood, by August, we should be back to normal. So they've got no excuse of we've lost X amount of money. The Hoyle will have been paid back another sort of instalment, so that'll be another 10 million, is it, off at debt? End of 2021, I think it is. It's up to Phil to put his money, if he's got any, where his mouth is. He seems to talk a really good game, does Phil, a lot of the time, and doesn't really always seem to get, or hardly ever get, backed up without anything. He's got a chance to go into this summer, and if he can sort of read the room, he'll look at it as in, fans want me to invest my money, they're not willing to invest their money in season tickets. But as much as we don't like to say football as a business, it is a business, and if you owned a restaurant and it were falling apart, you wouldn't get any customers, would you? So what would you do? You'd invest in that restaurant, make it better, and people would come back. And that's how he's got to look at it. You've got to see it like that. You've got to speculate to accumulate, and people will leave it late. Again, I think I mentioned it last week. They'll wait right up to deadline, August time, because they'll want to know what's happening with COVID first and foremost, and also they'll be waiting to see what goes on, transfer-wise. And I'm sure we'll cover it in great detail over the summer, because there'll be no one else to talk about, will there, without any matches and stuff. But he needs to start thinking about it now, and that recruitment team should be working their asses off to get a list of players who they want or who they think will fit, and they need to be going out and getting them straight away. None of this waiting around till back in July and picking up the pieces. And
also, when last time we signed someone and you were like, wow, when? I mean, we're talking...
genuinely, probably Alex Pritchard, and look how that went. But he was the only one of the players recently where... Because obviously when Wagner came in, he bought a lot of players and didn't know who they were. So, you saw these players coming in and they turned out to be brilliant, didn't they? But you didn't know who they were, so you couldn't really get that excited about them. But I must admit, when we signed Pritchard, I thought, do you know what? That's not a bad sign anywhere. Historically really good. For Norwich, he was good. And, we paid £10 million for him, or 11 million, or whatever it was. And for whatever reason, it just turned out to be a total flop.
4 years ago, mate, that just shows how far we...
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's like Callum Grant, you'd never heard of him, obviously, kind of left a better player, went to the Premier League, but when we signed him from Charlton that Premier League season when we were done, it was like, I remember thinking, wow, what are we building for here? But I think they may have tried to do it again, possibly with some of the others, but my kind of thoughts are, I mean, obviously we don't know how the finances are, but it's almost like we're planning for the future without looking at the present, because we could end up... None of these players can come and impact. Like Aaron's is another one, obviously injured now. But it's like we might polish him up. Look what he did at Newcastle. It's like Thomas maybe, but like you said, Brady, bloody hell, Boreham Wood and Huddersfield Town, a bit two different animals and stuff as well. Danny Grant, he was always going to be a B team guy. The others, Sanogo were like an afterthought, really. Obviously, Niasse were another one, and.
Yeah, I mean, Nias still sounds like it might happen, by the way. It seems like they're still appealing it, so it could come in. But
next season before he could play what's playing, just sack it off, man.
10 minutes out of him Friday night.
The thing is about the club's recruitment strategy, they're kind of how they spun it was we're offering people a second chance, or they're like up and coming, or we're trying to get the polish a gem. My voice went really high because it was
Scott,
it's all right. It's all right doing that, but we need to surround it with quality. Like you look at that, we keep banging on about it, but you look at the people we brought in. Who's championship standard? Dwayne Holmes. That's it. And we miss Iting. I know there's a lot of injuries, but this summer it needs to get players who are championship players. Like if that's from the relegated teams or whatever. Is it? Poz right. It's a huge summer. There's no excuses. Phil. Like I agree with you, mate. Phil. this is the thing with these monthly statements. If we keep losing another game, people will pick apart everything he says in it, and it'll be used against him, construed against him. And it's just getting worse every day. He has an opportunity. And I'll admit it, if he pulls it out of the bag, we'll all be like, fair enough. But I don't feel confident. I don't feel confident in this recruitment team. One of the last good players we signed was Emile Smith-Rowe, and that's because Cowley had a link with Arsenal.
Who does all these Twitter pictures and stuff, all these really clever... Is it you, Brady? Because you could do like that Last Chance Spud, couldn't you? We've seen that series on bloody Last Chance Spud. Let's just bring anyone in and give them another chance and let's see if they do all right.
Well, looking at recruitment policy of late, Phil, you might be getting a call because we seem to be going for players that used to play for us, slightly older, and where we need one. So we need a keeper. You're slightly older and you used to play for us, mate. So don't turn your phone off over the summer.
I went in garage the other day and I've got a box of brand new gloves that I thought I might actually wear at some point, but they haven't been out of a box for 8 years, so I could be struggling.
Keep them fresh, mate. You never know, next season you might be there.
More chance of Kosi playing in goals than me.
It's like Groundhog Day, though, isn't it, guys? I mean, here we are again, coming up towards Easter time, and we're battling as lives to stop up. It's unbelievable, really. And I don't know what you're really relying on others, really, aren't you? You don't feel confident that we're going to get enough to stop up, and it's just that double-edged sword. Because I even thought last summer, I were obviously vocal that our Cowley went and that, so I didn't have a problem with that. But it's almost like nothing's improved, nothing's changed. The only good thing is you're going to get back in the ground, but it's like, just look at God, maybe we could I'll just go around in a circle, man. But it is.
I just feel like we've been really unlucky. I really do. Like, this is a kind of semi-positive. I feel like I've been really unlucky with these injuries. I think to have so many players that are so influential in the way that we play to be injured. We all do it, don't we? We sit down and we think, God, what's going wrong here? Why is it going wrong? And you come up with all sorts, don't you? One week you think this should have happened and he shouldn't have played, and next week. But when it all falls down to it, if we had everyone fit and available, and you mentioned before, Kosi, then look at our bench. It have been players made from today's team. So we do have players and things in place, and we have seen some really good football. Like you've mentioned before Christmas, we were in such a good position and it looked totally different. But I just think we've been so unlucky this year with some of the key players. I really do. Bloody hell! I mean, when last time we spoke about Schindler, Schindler's been our best defender and we don't even talk about him anymore because we just resigned to the fact he ain't going to play. Karoma ain't going to play.
We beat Watford 2-0 just before Christmas, man.
Exactly. So I just think you can. We do get drawn into it, don't we? We get frustrated and things, but when you really break it down, these injuries have just had a massive impact on the way that we're playing and the results. To be honest,
I do actually genuinely think we're looking at table just before I came on as well, and I think we're 8 above the drop zone now. And obviously Wednesday and Wednesday and Rotherham, yeah, cheers, Phil. Play tomorrow, so they both can't win. So you're gonna, can I see two teams picking up? There's will be 3 wins in it for one of them to get in front of us. Look at their history. Well, will they suddenly bang 3 wins together and nobody else, to overtake us as well? I can't see that many wins for those, and I think we've got Wednesday and Rotherham to play at home.
Yeah, Wednesday will be
Coventry.
That's the worry.
Well.
That's the worry for me.
Adam Moore might get a tune out of them, Poz. You just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you start to lose those, then you've got to be nervous, haven't you? But if we'd have won tonight, you wouldn't have think you'd be sat here saying, "I know we didn't," and ifs and buts and all that, but we would have been 10 in front. I know we're on a massively bad run, but
that's my
we're 8 in front of the drop. I know they've got games in hand, but they're at the bottom of the league, so they're probably unlikely to win them. So, trying to look for positives and about staying up, that for me is when I can't see enough teams below us getting
That's
more.
my worry, Poz. I just hope that it don't go like Tool's been a couple of weeks, like, let's just keep a draw. Because today, first time I think, we're really going for a win here. I didn't know what to, I couldn't kind of gauge what we were doing. And I just hope, like the Coventry and stuff, I just want us to kind of play on that front foot but like you said, Phil, the guys we've got missing, can you? There's no icing to thread.
Law of averages dictate, though, that we'll pick up another.
Yeah.
2 win. Look at that Swansea game. We would have said we'd win that. So there'll be another one of them at least. There'll be another couple of draws. So you can add on, probably 5 more points. And I think if we get 5, I think we'll probably be all right. He says hoping.
Probably not.
This year, mate.
I hope that kills you, innit?
Yeah, I'm glad it won't last year.
Guys, I think I'll probably bring it to an end here, but so many people onto the stream tonight and commenting. It's been some good debate on the channels and that as well. And I hope we've made you even more positive. But we can only be honest, can't we? And unfortunately, if we're coming on here saying it's all good and rosy and what have you, but it's, if we're happy clappers or we're kind of negative or what have you, but we appreciate everyone's contribution. Will be on for our 99th episode, which probably be next week after we've played at Cardiff and then number 100. But what a time to bring a podcast out.
We'll get a big win for 100th pod, I reckon. They're saving it for us. They're saving it.
Never mind Carlos's record. I want to see, we started in that relegation in the Prem. I want to see the percentage wins and, oh man. And then people are, you're always boring. Oh God. We'll probably be dead when there's a promoted season. It's the vaccine won't have worked or something and that. Be like that. But no, it's been a pleasure and we'll keep fighting till the end. That's what all Spanish people say. So we'll fight till the end and we'll look.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown. They're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.